morning, everyone. Today is our last day out on our homestead for this year. It's kind of a sad day.
Very bittersweet.
The spring we stood in this pretty much exact same spot, and
We were looking at a snowbank. Luna was running in all the snow. There was just the poles on the pole barn.
yeah, we've come a long ways in just a few months. So unfortunately, we're not going to spend the winter this year. We're just not quite ready for it and have obligations on the road. So that's why we have the schoolie. But yeah, we've accomplished so much this year. We've trenched in power, we enclosed our shop, we rebuilt the bus engine, did a whole bunch of yard grading, a whole bunch of tree clearing. You couldn't see the river behind us here before. It was all blackberries and stuff like that. We
picked blackberries,
Yep.
picked a whole bunch of those. We started gardening to see what our climate was like, and amazingly, even though it's almost November, we've only had one frost so far.
Yep, there's still flowers blooming in the garden. So it's been great. There's so many other little projects we haven't gotten to or mentioning yet, but yeah, let's take you around. We're going to do a tour of what we got done in 2024, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon for 2025.
Here, when we got here, it was all covered with brush and blackberry vines and a lot of small undergrowth. There was some larger trees in here that we have also taken down. So for fire protection, we cleared all of the big trees and brush, and then we also cleared some of the smaller brush so that we could have the view that we really wanted. And this is going to lead us into next year's project, so be sure to stay tuned to see what we have planned for this hill in the future.
So one of the big projects we had to get done this summer was to get power up here. It's about 500 feet from the power line all the way up to our box, and then we had to get down to the shop and wire up the shop. But yeah, we were able to get that done. It's really nice to have power out here, even though it's not nearly as stable or reliable as you're probably used to. But yeah, this has been a big project. It involved making this road all the way around and then trenching in the conduit. They pulled the wires after we backfilled everything, and yeah, we had to get it into the shop and all that. So it was a big project. It took probably a month and a half to get all that done.
Then this was one of the first areas that we got cleared. So naturally I wanted it to be the garden because I was dying to put plants in the ground. So this became the first garden, but it ended up being too shady for a lot of the vegetables that I wanted to grow. So I ended up having a second garden, which will, I think, become our primary garden in the future. So this one is going to go by the wayside, but it worked as a pretty good garden, but just not quite as sunny as I hoped. Then also over here, when we bought the property, this slope came very close to the building and just kind of dropped off. So we've done a lot of regrading, so a lot of this material has gone into our yard in front of the shop. And so then we were able to make that more level but still drain away from the front of the shop. And so then later, the eventual plan for this area is to maybe become our driveway for our future house in that direction.
Yeah, we want to have the house somewhere deep in the trees over that way. So by far the biggest project we accomplished this summer was to get this building enclosed. We started with a shell, so it had a concrete floor, posts going up to a roof system that had steel on it, and a floor in the loft basically. But it was 12 feet tall ceilings in the lower portion, and our backhoe is 12.9, the bus is 12.7, so we couldn't fit any of our equipment in the shop to work on it. So we ended up raising the shop 2 feet 2 inches, and that allowed us to get everything in, but it was a big project. You should go check it out. It was very fun to get that done and very rewarding to see the building lifted up in the air. After we got it lifted, we put all the framing for the walls in, and then just finished up the sheeting of the walls today. So we got our corners on. We have a row of windows that wrap all the way around the building, and that's nice for now while we're not heating it. It lets in a lot of natural light. As you can also see, we do not have the gable ends done yet, and we're just running out of time. It's a lot of work on scaffolding and very tedious work because it's all angles and not what I wanted to do in a hurry. So we'll get that done in the spring, but it's weather tight for now. So over here we have a couple windows in the shop. We have an awesome view of the river down there. So we wanted to capture that by having some windows in the shop, and while we're working we'll be able to look out, see the weather across the valley. We can also see, it's just going to be really nice while we're working. Lets in a lot of natural light. We ended up just getting these windows off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and they worked out great for us. So we'll take you inside and show you around. I will warn you, it is a mess right now because we crammed all of our stuff in here that we wanted to stay dry for the winter. So yeah, let's go inside. So, like I said, it's a mess. We're crammed everything in here just so it's out of the weather. The first thing that you'll see here is we have the sawmill. Unfortunately, we did not get to that this year. That'll be a main focus next year because we want to mill up a whole bunch of lumber. Speaking of lumber, we have a huge pile of everything that we didn't use for the building and some steel and all that. So that's our leftover building supplies. We'll put that to good use inside the building here. But as you can see, the building having those 14'2" ceilings is pretty awesome. You can see how close the backhoe arm is to the ceiling, even though, we raised it up. So, as far as the backhoe goes for the winter, we put blocks under the axles so that if the tires do go low air pressure, it won't get the beads messed up and be really hard to reinflate them. Also chained up our outriggers and grounded the bucket so that any hydraulic settling that we have happen with the backhoe, it doesn't end up damaging something. Like I've heard of some, if they have the bucket all curled up and locked, or the backhoe arm all curled up and locked, but the lock fails, it will just droop down, and in our case, it would crush all of our steel and stuff on the wood pile. So we probably just released the video on this, hopefully by this time. But this is our little mini excavator we just got at auction. It's a little Chinese ATG or AGT mini excavator. It's primarily for Emily for gardening, and if we want to do some benching of making basically paths along the side of our hill, they can be about 5 feet wide instead of a full 10 or 15 if I did it with the backhoe. So nice little machine. We'll have plenty of videos on this because there's some hydraulic fine tuning and some other stuff we need to get done with it. So this spring, when we got here, you could barely get the bus in here. You couldn't get it turned around. It was very, there was a steep slope on this side, and then where the Jeep is sitting, the Jeep would be floating by about 5 feet up in the air. So we had to do quite a bit of work and backfill, and where the brush pile is was probably more like 6 or 8 feet. So we've moved a whole bunch of dirt from that hillside over here and been filling this in all year. That way we have a nice big yard that we can turn our bus around in. So that was another project we worked on this year. We had it finished, but we needed to rebuild the engine in it because it had a bunch of blow-by. So we've done the initial break-in idling runs for it, but we still need to work it really hard. We haven't, basically done a trial run with it yet. So this trip today will be a little interesting, to say the least. So with our shop, we wanted big overhead doors that we could fit our backhoe and our bus in. And with the ceiling height that we ended up getting, that 14'2", we couldn't put an overhead door in. So we did these swinging doors. Unfortunately, I didn't do them. I built the doors themselves, very strong, they're great, but I used the wrong hinges on them. So they're not very straight, and the hinges flex quite a bit, so I can't tune them to close correctly. But we'll be addressing that in the spring. I'll make some custom hinges that will be much stronger, and we'll be able to get this door panel in particular. This doesn't want to come up straight. We ended up adding 2 more extra hinges at the top, but they also just flexed. So because of that, unfortunately, our really cool garage door openers, or gate openers technically, from Topham's, they work excellent, but my doors do not work well with them because they basically bind at the top, and with the gate openers, they're too smart for that. If they get overloaded or they sense that there's something happening where they're binding, it will open up the doors again and won't allow you to crush them like you need to get it to close. So unfortunately we don't have these hooked up quite yet. Next spring we will be fixing the hinges, and I'll be redoing the doors just a little bit so that one will lap first. That's another cool feature with these openers, is that you can basically delay one of the doors from opening first or second. That way you can have a staggered overlapped door and it will close and open just fine. So we'll do that next spring. Unfortunately, yeah, we didn't quite get it done the way we wanted to. Another thing that we did this year is we cleared a path all the way down to our creek, which is basically a half-hour drive with the backhoe. So it took quite a bit of time, a lot of clearing, a lot of trees. But the reason we did that was so that we could get water for the gardens, and then for fire protection. We basically just take the backhoe with the pallet forks and go down there with one tote at a time, fill it up with a pump from the creek, and then bring it up here. Next year we're hoping to get a more permanent system of pumps, but it's a very challenging situation that we have here because we have between 400 and 600 feet of elevation gain to get to our building site here from the creek.
So like I said, there was one garden that I started with that ended up being too shady, so before I even realized that it was too shady, I decided to plant some stuff here, and everything here ended up doing much better because we have this clearing in front of this garden which allowed it to get more sunlight. So I think next year my plan is to extend this garden and get rid of the other one that was just too shady for anything that I wanted to plant. So we have big plans for this garden, but for this year it was just a small little flower garden, which I cannot believe is still blooming.
So here you can see another angle of our yard grading and see how much room we have here now. We still have to fill in this corner here and make a road down past this garden, but it's getting good, pretty close to what we want for the final grading here. It is, yeah, very nice to have a nice flat spot at the top of the mountain here. So I hope you liked our little tour around the property of what we got done this year. It's been a very hard year.
But also very rewarding.
Yes, this year was basically us trying to get established up here, get a foothold up here, and basically make it so that next year when we come back, we don't have to do a whole lot. We do plan to get septic in and finish up the building just a little bit more. Other than that, we have a lot of logging to do, a lot of milling to do, a lot of dirt work to do, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other adventures along the way.
And a lot of other miscellaneous projects that you never know what we'll dream up in between then and now.
Yeah,
so
it'll be interesting because we'll be traveling for the next few months, and it'll give us time to reflect on the time we've had up here and think of different ideas and plans and stuff we want to do up here. And it'll be interesting if our plans change a little bit after traveling, but yeah, it's been great.
So if you like content like this, where you see just a hardworking couple where we're putting in everything that we've got to do fun projects, feel free to hit that like button. If you want to, please subscribe.
Really, from the bottom of our hearts, we are really grateful that you guys choose to follow along with us and, yeah, partake in our adventures here. And we're really grateful for all of you, just even if you're watching. So I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Thank you. Bye.